So this is the overview for my jump lesson. I had Kyla and I was going to do my sow cow, or her sow cow, sorry. So I wanted to start off with a warm-up waltz jump just to get her knees moving, get her in the jumping mood before we moved on to her sow cow. I had her do a waltz jump right at the beginning, and I found that there was some errors that definitely needed to be fixed before we moved on to introducing the sow cow. So what I did was I broke it down even right from the beginning. I wanted to work on her takeoff. Her arm positioning was a little bit off. She was swinging too far. They weren't, and her arms were bent. So I definitely had her walk through that at the beginning, so that because if her arms were doing that, then during her salka they would have been swinging as well. So I wanted to definitely fix that in her waltz jump. Um, and then I wanted to, after we got her arms a little bit sorted and talked about the pop at the top of the jump, which would also carry through to her sow cow, I added the swing roll into the right forward outside swing roll and then into the jump. This was giving her a little bit more speed so that she had a little bit more to control instead of her throwing her back right into the backwards crossovers. When I demonstrated it, I didn't do the first swing roll with my arms and legs swinging through. So I think that was definitely something I should have done, using that first and then going into the waltz jump. So I did make her do that, but I didn't demonstrate it, so that's something that when looking back at the lesson, I definitely needed to fix. During the walkthrough, I wanted to focus on definitely those arms and getting the pop and the swing through of her leg. I used the analogy on the boards of kicking her knee through and giving a little bit of force and hitting the board so that she knew what it felt like to really keep that force but without moving her hips back. So I did end up pulling her hips back so that her hips wouldn't come forward and she wouldn't start leaning back, and I actually just pulled on her hips, and I think that helped her a lot to understand how it felt. So I think that hands-on part was really well done. So after going through this, I walked through the backwards crossovers and the preparation takeoff, keeping her shoulder in line with her skating foot so that it wasn't swinging around. And then I had her to go do her jump with backwards crossovers again. I thought it was a lot better. It was a lot more controlled. I still could have had a little bit more pop, but I thought that with working on these basics, I thought that her wall jump would be good enough, and these would transfer over to learning her sow cow. So there's definitely still things I need to work on, but I did want to get to introduce the sow cow. So after kind of working on her wall jump and her basics, and then we moved on to the sow cow. I wanted to do the three turn first just because it is an essential part to the jump and was something that I could work on with the time I had left. I let her do one just to see and evaluate, and then I ended up having to work on checking her shoulders really bad just because she was spinning around and her arms were getting ahead of herself on that three turn. So the hands on, like walking through over and over and over again and me holding her shoulders back was something that really helped her. I also used the analogy that I did use in my previous lesson about having a loonie or a piece of paper behind her shoulder blade so that she could hold herself, and that definitely helped her control her three turn, but we did have to work on just that control factor a lot. After I got the three turn a little bit more under control, I used the ice cream example that you did give me. I think it was a great one. Again, you said it's summer, it's fun. People love ice cream. So that was something that was awesome, and I definitely need to use in the future. So I used that analogy to help her understand the placement of the free foot coming through to get up into the sow cow. Using this was helpful, and I think she really enjoyed it, and it was something she could relate to. So that is also a teaching aid that I need to think about, and I also need to think about other analogies that I can use maybe in different seasons, I guess, or something that also that they can relate to, because that really helped. For another teaching aid, I could have also used a marker again and just drawn out the three turns so she had a little bit of a guideline on how big her three turn needed to be and where it was supposed to be placed. So that was something also that I could have improved on. And then we're just going to go through the time, a little bit of audio. So at 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I was talking about checking the shoulders on the takeoff. I know it's a little bit loud in the ring. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew what I was talking about. And then at 11:11, I was also talking about the head placement just because her head was turning. I wanted to make sure her whole body was aligned, and so using I just talked about it and kind of walked her through it so that she could feel where her body position needed to be in order to get her walkthrough where it needed to be. So with this lesson, I think it went well. I deviated from my lesson plan just because I did end up spending majority of the lesson on her wall jump, but I felt this is necessary because those were basics that needed to be addressed before I could send her to do her Salchow, just because they would have transferred over. So definitely working on the wall jump was something that needed to happen, even though I did stray from my lesson plan. And then definitely bringing markers to as another teaching aid. I know analogies work in the boards, but something like a marker as a visual would have really helped during this lesson. And I think that's it.